she would have kicked me out of the neighborhood. That's exactly what she would have done. And so, yeah, she told me to breathe, relax, just listen to this wonderful teacher and have some fun.
Hollywood has produced no shortage of child stars whose lives eventually unraveled under the weight of fame. Some became tabloid fixtures. Others disappeared into addiction, lawsuits, financial ruin, or bitter public feuds. Nancy McKeon seemed destined to become another chapter in that familiar story after rising to fame as Jo Polniaczek on The Facts of Life. Then, almost without anyone noticing, she took a completely different path. And now, Nancy McKeon is nearly 61. So, what is she up to now? Well, we'll get to that shortly. But first, let's take a journey through her life and career to truly appreciate what came next. Lesbian icon, fan assumptions, and Hollywood's biggest what-ifs. When The Facts of Life became one of NBC's defining sitcoms, few could have predicted that one of its biggest legacies would have little to do with ratings or awards. Jo Polniaczek, the leather jacket-wearing scholarship student from the Bronx, gradually became something far more significant to many viewers, an unexpected LGBTQ cultural icon. What's remarkable is that the show's writers never explicitly intended that outcome. Jo was never written as a lesbian, never given storylines suggesting she was gay, and throughout the series, she dated male characters. Yet decades later, her name would frequently appear in conversations about groundbreaking television representation. You see, back in the early 1980s, openly LGBTQ protagonists were almost non-existent on American network television, especially in family-oriented sitcoms. Female characters were generally expected to fit familiar molds: fashionable, polite, romance-focused, and conventionally feminine. Jo Polniaczek ignored nearly every one of those expectations. She wore leather jackets instead of dresses, loved motorcycles instead of shopping, challenged authority instead of seeking approval, and rarely cared whether anyone considered her ladylike. She was fiercely independent, outspoken, and emotionally guarded. For countless young women, particularly lesbians and girls questioning traditional gender expectations, Jo represented someone who refused to apologize for being different. Whether or not the writers intended it, many viewers found themselves seeing a reflection of their own experiences in her refusal to conform. The perception only grew stronger as the years passed. Nancy McKeon herself remained largely unaware of that impact until years later. During a 2004 interview with TVGO, she was asked directly whether she knew Jo had become a lesbian icon. McKeon responded with warmth and appreciation. "I think that's a wonderful thing," she said, explaining that Jo had shown young girls it was possible to stand up for their beliefs, reject peer pressure, and live life on their own terms. Unfortunately, as often happens in celebrity culture, admiration for a fictional character gradually blurred into speculation about the actress portraying her. Over the following decades, internet forums, gossip sites, and fan discussions repeatedly questioned Nancy McKeon's own sexuality. Despite persistent rumors, no credible evidence ever emerged to support those claims. In fact, her documented personal life tells a different story. In 1983, while filming the television movie High School USA, Nancy met a young actor named Michael J. Fox. At the time, Fox was on the verge of becoming a household name through Family Ties and, soon afterward, Back to the Future. The two dated for 3 years, but remarkably little about the relationship became public during that time. Years later, McKeon explained that both she and Fox valued privacy, saying they deliberately kept their relationship out of the spotlight. They even appeared together as a celebrity couple on the game show Tattletales. But beyond that, there were few tabloid headlines, no public drama, and no bitter breakup stories. As her career moved beyond The Facts of Life, Nancy McKeon also witnessed an opportunity slip away at the last moment. This was in 1990, when NBC developed a television adaptation of the hit film Working Girl. McKeon was being courted for the lead role originally played by Melanie Griffith in the 1988 movie. Instead, the part went to a then largely unknown actress named Sandra Bullock. An even bigger turning point arrived just 4 years later. During the casting process for Friends, former NBC casting executive Laurie Openden later revealed that McKeon advanced to the final stages for the role of Monica Geller. According to Openden, the ultimate decision came down to McKeon and Courtney Cox, with creators Marta Kaufman and David Crane choosing Cox after discussing the finalists. Television history followed one path, but it is fascinating to imagine another. The family that lived in front of the camera. Long before Nancy McKeon became one of the most recognizable faces on American television, the cameras were already a normal part of everyday life. Born on April 4, 1966, in Westbury, New York, to Barbara McKeon and Donald McKeon, a travel agent, Nancy entered a household where the entertainment business was a family routine. While many children were learning nursery rhymes, Nancy was learning how to smile for photographers, follow directions on commercial sets, and remain comfortable under bright studio lights. At just 2 years old, Nancy started modeling baby clothing for the Sears and Roebuck catalog, one of the largest retail publications in America at the time. Appearing in a Sears catalog during the late 1960s and early 1970s meant reaching millions of households across the United States, making it an important launching pad for many young models and actors. While most toddlers were taking their first steps into preschool, Nancy was already building a professional resume. Nancy was destined for television, but you see, she was not the only one in her family. Her older brother, Philip McKeon, entered acting around the same time and soon found national recognition as Tommy Hyatt on the CBS sitcom Alice. Running from 1976 to 1985, Alice became one of television's biggest sitcoms, making Philip a familiar face in millions of American homes. Interestingly, Nancy even appeared twice on the series herself. Rather than competing, the two grew up side by side in an industry that often isolates young performers. As the family settled in Forest Hills, Queens, Nancy's career steadily expanded beyond modeling. She landed roles on daytime soap operas, including The Secret Storm and Another World, giving her valuable experience with fast-paced television production before she even reached her teenage years. From there came a string of guest appearances on popular primetime shows. She appeared on Starsky and Hutch in 1977, followed by Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, and the short-lived series Stone. Alongside live-action television, Nancy also established herself as a busy voice actress. She voiced characters in animated specials such as Scruffy, The Trouble with Miss Switch, and The Puppy's Amazing Rescue, while also contributing to ABC weekend specials, The Puppy's Further Adventures, and episodes of Thundar the Barbarian. Voice acting demanded a completely different skill set. It was an experience that broadened her abilities long before audiences knew her as Jo Polniaczek. Then came the seemingly insignificant commercial that changed everything. While already working steadily in commercials, McKeon appeared in a Hallmark greeting card television commercial that required her to deliver an emotional performance. The advertisement itself wasn't a major production, and it wasn't built around a dramatic monologue or elaborate storyline. Instead, it featured a simple emotional moment that required the young actress to cry. What caught the attention of a casting director wasn't the commercial's premise, but McKeon's remarkable ability to produce believable tears on cue, a skill that is notoriously difficult even for experienced adult actors. For directors and producers, a child actor capable of delivering consistent emotion across multiple takes can save valuable production time while adding authenticity to a performance. That brief scene demonstrated an emotional maturity well beyond her years, and it happened at exactly the right moment. NBC was in the middle of rethinking the facts of life after a disappointing first season. The sitcom had struggled in the ratings. Producers believed there were too many student characters to develop effectively in a half-hour format, and an extraordinary cast overhaul was underway that saw 4 regular young actresses, including future Hollywood star Molly Ringwald, written out of the series. The network was searching for a fresh character who could immediately change the dynamic of the show, and the casting director who had noticed McKeon's hallmark performance recommended her for an audition. And this changed everything, becoming Jo Polniaczek and an unlikely television icon. By the time she walked into an audition for The Facts of Life in 1980, Nancy McKeon was only 14 years old, yet she had already spent more than a decade in front of cameras. She had modeled for one of America's largest retailers, acted in soap operas, guest starred on hit television series, voiced animated characters, and learned the discipline of professional production from childhood onward. Here, she wasn't replacing just one actress. Instead, she was joining a reimagined version of the entire show. Producers had discovered McKeon after seeing her emotional performance in a Hallmark commercial, where her ability to cry convincingly on cue stood out to casting executives. Instead of adding another wealthy student to Eastland's halls, the writers introduced someone who would immediately disrupt the social order. Her name was Jo Polniaczek, a scholarship student from the Bronx who transferred to Eastland after getting into trouble at her previous school. From the moment she arrived, viewers knew this wasn't another polished prep school teenager. Jo looked different before she even spoke. While many television girls of the early 1980s were styled to appear cheerful, fashionable, and conventionally feminine, Jo often wore a leather jacket, jeans, boots, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who had already fought plenty of battles. She loved motorcycles, came from a working-class family, spoke with blunt honesty, and rarely cared whether anyone approved of her opinions. Her sarcasm became one of her trademarks, delivering cutting one-liners instead of polite conversation. She refused to change herself simply to fit into Eastland's wealthy social circle. For many young viewers, especially girls who never saw themselves reflected in glamorous television heroines, Jo represented something refreshingly authentic. No relationship demonstrated that contrast better than Jo's ongoing conflict with Blair Warner, played by Lisa Whelchel. Blair was wealthy, fashionable, image-conscious, and raised in privilege. Jo was practical, skeptical of wealth, and openly dismissive of social status. Their early episodes were built around constant arguments, personality clashes, and culture shock. Yet over the years, those confrontations gradually transformed into mutual respect and genuine friendship. The gamble paid off. Instead of disappearing after a second season, The Facts of Life became one of NBC's defining sitcoms. Nancy McKeon remained with the series from 1980 until 1988, appearing in 189 regular episodes across 9 seasons, along with the television movies The Facts of Life Goes to Paris in 1982 and The Facts of Life Down Under in 1987. Jo quickly evolved from the new girl into one of the show's emotional anchors. Her storylines tackled everything from family struggles and relationships to ambition and self-confidence, allowing McKeon to display dramatic range alongside comedy. Behind the scenes, Nancy's teenage years looked very different from those of her classmates outside Hollywood. After previously attending Catholic school, she completed her education on the set under studio tutors, balancing scripts and homework between rehearsals and filming. Years later, during an interview with Tom Snyder, she laughed about occasionally receiving detention while attending traditional school because she disliked following some of its strict rules, including being reprimanded for wearing her favorite patent leather shoes. McKeon's performances during these years didn't go unnoticed. She earned multiple Young Artist Award nominations and victories, winning honors for The Facts of Life, The Facts of Life Goes to Paris, and the ABC after-school special Please Don't Hit Me, Mom. As the series evolved, its cast continued to change. In 1985, a relatively unknown actor named George Clooney, yes, that George Clooney, joined the show as handyman George Burnett, first as a recurring character before becoming a regular during seasons 7 and 8. Meanwhile, Charlotte Rae gradually stepped away from the series, with Cloris Leachman joining the cast as Beverly Ann Stickle, helping guide the show through its later seasons. Success on television also brought extraordinary opportunities beyond the studio. During the height of the Facts of Life's popularity, Nancy McKeon and her parents were granted a private audience with Pope John Paul II at the Vatican. Years later, McKeon described the meeting as electric, recalling that the Pope possessed an almost indescribable presence that exceeded anything she had seen in photographs or paintings. But you see, her character would draw another kind of attention as well. A career built quietly instead of loudly. When The Facts of Life ended its 9-season run in 1988, many people assumed Nancy McKeon would follow the familiar path of sitcom stars, either become a major Hollywood movie actress or quietly fade from public view. Instead, she chose a third option that attracted far less attention but proved remarkably consistent. Rather than chasing blockbuster films or celebrity headlines, McKeon steadily built a career centered on television dramas, made-for-TV movies, and later behind-the-camera work. Her first major post-Facts of Life projects immediately demonstrated that she wasn't interested in simply replaying Jo Polniaczek. Instead of another sitcom, McKeon gravitated toward television movies inspired by real-life tragedies and difficult social issues. One of the most notable arrived in 1989 with A Cry for Help, the Tracy Thurman story, in which she portrayed Tracy Thurman, a Connecticut woman who sued the Torrington Police Department after officers repeatedly failed to protect her from her abusive estranged husband, Charles "Buck" Thurman, despite numerous warnings. The resulting 1984 federal civil rights lawsuit, Thurman versus City of Torrington, helped reshape how many police departments responded to domestic violence calls across the United States. That wasn't an isolated choice. Throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, McKeon repeatedly selected projects built around complex human struggles rather than conventional television entertainment. In 1987, she starred in Strange Voices, portraying Nicole "Nikki" Glover, a young woman battling schizophrenia. At a time when mental illness remained heavily stigmatized on television, the film attempted to portray not only the illness itself, but also its devastating impact on an entire family. Years earlier, McKeon had also earned acclaim for the 1983 ABC after-school special, Please Don't Hit Me, Mom, portraying a teenager trapped in an abusive home. The performance won her a Young Artist Award. In 1995, McKeon starred in The Wrong Woman, playing Melanie Brooke, a woman falsely accused of killing her employer. The story explored wrongful conviction, manipulation of evidence, and the terrifying consequences of becoming trapped inside the criminal justice system despite maintaining innocence. As her acting career matured, Nancy McKeon also began expanding into production. Rather than waiting for opportunities, she founded her own company, Forest Hills Entertainment, named after the Forest Hills neighborhood in Queens, where she spent part of her childhood. That ambition reached a new milestone in 1999 with the short film Awakening. McKeon didn't simply star in the project. She wrote and directed it herself. The film received industry recognition by winning both the Audience Award for Best Short Drama and the Crystal Palm Award for Best Short Film at the Marco Island Film Festival in 2000. However, she never pursued directing on the scale many expected afterward. Meanwhile, another major acting opportunity arrived in 2001 when McKeon joined the Lifetime police drama The Division. Cast as Inspector Ginny Ekstead, she portrayed a talented but deeply flawed San Francisco police inspector whose struggles with alcoholism became one of the series' central storylines. Running until 2004, the show produced 88 episodes, making it McKeon's longest television commitment since The Facts of Life. Her performance earned multiple Prism Award nominations. During the series, McKeon also stepped behind the camera again, directing the episodes Full Moon and The Cost of Freedom. One particularly interesting production decision blurred the line between Nancy's real life and her fictional character. During the final season of The Division, McKeon became pregnant with her first child. Rather than hiding the pregnancy through camera angles or temporary absences, a common television practice, the writers chose to incorporate it directly into Ginny Ed's storyline. After the division concluded, McKeon appeared in Hallmark productions including Wild Hearts in 2006 and Love Begins in 2011. Guest starred on Without a Trace and reached an entirely new generation of viewers by portraying Connie Monroe, the mother of Demi Lovato's title character in the Disney Channel series Sunny with a Chance between 2009 and 2010. The same pattern continued into the next decade. She competed on Dancing with the Stars in 2018, reunited briefly with former castmates in the 2019 holiday film You Light Up My Christmas, and joined the cast of Amazon Prime Video's thriller series Panic, which premiered in 2021. Around the same period, she also returned to live theater with pen pals, marking her New York stage debut after decades in television. However, she gradually became more selective, balancing work with marriage, motherhood, and private life. Choosing family over fame. While filming the Hallmark television movie A Mother's Gift in 1995, McKeon met Mark Andrus, a film technician working behind the scenes. Unlike the actors, producers, and executives who filled much of her professional life, Andrus wasn't interested in celebrity, and that difference would ultimately become one of the defining factors in Nancy's life. Their relationship unfolded almost entirely outside public view. McKeon and Andrus dated for approximately 8 years, with remarkably little public attention. When the couple finally married in 2003, the ceremony reflected exactly how they had lived their relationship. Instead of a lavish celebrity wedding attended by hundreds of industry figures, the guest list reportedly included only about 20 people. There were no major magazine covers, televised specials, or elaborate press releases. Soon afterward, Nancy made another decision that surprised many longtime fans. Rather than remaining in Los Angeles, the center of the American entertainment industry, she and Mark relocated to a ranch outside Austin, Texas. For many actors, leaving Southern California means limiting career opportunities. For McKeon, however, the move represented a deliberate shift in priorities. Texas offered something Hollywood rarely could: space, privacy, and the chance to build a family life far removed from celebrity culture. The couple's family soon grew. Their first daughter was born in 2004, followed by a second in 2006. From the beginning, McKeon made a conscious effort to shield both children from the level of public exposure she had experienced herself. Having entered show business at just 2 years old, she understood firsthand what it meant to grow up under public scrutiny. Unlike many celebrity parents who regularly shared family milestones through interviews, reality television, or magazine features, Nancy rarely discussed her daughters publicly and carefully limited their appearances in the media. As the years passed, she rarely attended red carpet premieres unless connected to a project she was actively promoting. She avoided the celebrity party circuit, gave relatively few interviews, and maintained a much lower public profile than many of her contemporaries from the 1980s television. Even after social media transformed celebrity culture, McKeon's online presence remained modest and centered primarily on work, family, and longtime friendships rather than self-promotion. Perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of her marriage is how unremarkable it has remained by Hollywood standards. Since marrying Mark Andrus in 2003, there have been no credible divorce rumors, no public allegations of infidelity, no highly publicized marital disputes, no custody battles, and no legal conflicts involving the couple. That may sound ordinary outside the entertainment industry, but within Hollywood, where personal relationships often unfold under relentless media scrutiny, such stability is comparatively rare. Ironically, that very privacy became the source of its own mythology. As Nancy appeared less frequently on television, online speculation began filling the information vacuum. Some websites claimed she had secretly retired. Others suggested she had been blacklisted by Hollywood studios. Periodically, rumors surfaced alleging serious health problems, burnout from decades in the entertainment industry, or undisclosed personal crises. However, Nancy McKeon never announced a retirement. She continued acting after the facts of life through projects like The Division, Sunny with a Chance, Hallmark Films, and later Amazon's Panic. She competed on Dancing with the Stars in 2018, appeared in You Light Up My Christmas in 2019, and eventually returned to the stage with pen pals. This is perhaps her greatest act of independence, but that is not to say there haven't been tragedies. Family loss, reunion rumors, and a new beginning. After years of carefully balancing acting with family life, Nancy McKeon entered one of the most difficult periods of her life, just as she was beginning to reintroduce herself to the public. In 2018, she surprised longtime fans by joining season 27 of Dancing with the Stars. For someone who had spent much of the previous decade avoiding the Hollywood spotlight, the announcement came as a genuine surprise. Paired with professional dancer Valentin Chmerkovskiy, McKeon stepped into a competition watched by millions each week, trading scripted television for live performances judged in real time. It wasn't a triumphant comeback in the traditional sense, as she and Chmerkovskiy were eliminated during the third week of competition, but there was no controversy surrounding her exit. That appearance would soon be overshadowed by events no one could have anticipated. 2019 became the most heartbreaking year publicly documented in McKeon's life. In October 2019, her father, Donald McKeon, passed away. Donald had been a constant presence throughout Nancy's childhood career, helping guide both Nancy and her older brother Philip McKeon through decades in the entertainment industry. His death alone would have been a profound loss for the family. Tragically, it was only the beginning. Less than 2 months later, on December 10, 2019, Philip McKeon died at the age of 55 after what his family described only as a long illness. Philip had spent 9 seasons portraying Tommy Hyatt on the CBS sitcom Alice, making him one of television's most recognizable child actors of the late 1970s and early 1980s. For Nancy, however, Philip was far more than a fellow television star. They had grown up modeling together, auditioning together, and navigating Hollywood side by side from childhood. What makes Philip's passing especially poignant is what happened only weeks beforehand. On his birthday, Nancy shared a heartfelt social media tribute celebrating their lifelong bond. She acknowledged that life had recently been difficult, writing that, as they always had, they would get through it together. It was a deeply personal message between siblings who had shared virtually every stage of life, from Sears catalog shoots to television sets and family milestones. Just 29 days later, Philip was gone. True to form, Nancy McKeon responded to grief not with interviews or lengthy public statements, but with silence. After Philip's death became public, she offered only a brief expression of love and remembrance on social media. That same period also quietly affected her professional commitments. In 2019, Nancy reunited with several of her former The Facts of Life co-stars for the holiday television movie You Light Up My Christmas, starring Kim Fields. The film was a nostalgic reunion for fans of the classic sitcom, and McKeon had originally been expected to have a larger role. Instead, she appears only briefly because of what producers described as a family emergency. The timing strongly suggests that the illnesses and deaths affecting her family understandably took precedence over filming. Around the same time, another The Facts of Life story captured fans' attention. This one fueled not by Nancy, but by comments from co-star Mindy Cohn. During an appearance on SiriusXM's Lewis Live, Cohn revealed that serious discussions had once taken place about a possible Facts of Life reunion or revival. According to her, the project collapsed because one unnamed cast member allegedly pursued a separate spin-off deal behind the others' backs. The comments immediately sparked widespread speculation across entertainment media and fan communities. What followed showed how quickly rumor can outpace evidence. Because Cohn never identified the actress, fans began speculating about Lisa Whelchel, Kim Fields, and even Nancy McKeon. despite no evidence linking any of them to the alleged negotiations. Years later, no identity has been confirmed, and the controversy remains unresolved. The only verified fact is that Mindy Cohn made the allegation. Everything else remains speculation. Despite personal tragedy and constant rumors, Nancy never stopped acting. In 2019, she announced her involvement in Amazon Studios' adaptation of Lauren Oliver's novel Panic. When the series premiered on Amazon Prime Video in 2021, McKeon appeared as Jessica Mason, marking another return to television after years of increasingly selective work. For years, the internet has tried to turn Nancy McKeon's life into a mystery. Yet, as McKeon nears her 61st birthday, the documented reality looks very different. There had been no explosive tell-all interview or shocking revelation. Instead, one of television's best-known former child stars had quietly reached another unexpected milestone. That milestone began with a return to New York, where her life had started nearly 6 decades earlier. Born in Westbury, New York, and raised in part in Forest Hills, Queens, McKeon had spent years raising her family on a ranch outside Austin, Texas, after marrying film technician Mark Andrus. In 2003, Texas became the place where she and Andrus raised their 2 daughters away from Hollywood's constant attention. But in a December 2024 interview promoting her latest project, McKeon revealed she had returned to New York, bringing her life and career full circle. The move coincided with another first, her New York stage debut in the off-Broadway production Pen Pals. For an actress with nearly 50 years of screen experience, beginning a stage career in her late 50s was highly unusual. While many actors start in theater before moving to television or film, McKeon followed the opposite path, spending decades in sitcoms, dramas, television movies, directing, and voice acting before finally stepping onto a New York stage. Pen Pals also reflected many of the themes that had quietly defined her own life. The play follows 2 women who remain connected through letters over 50 years, despite never meeting in person. It fit naturally with McKeon's long-standing preference for intimate, character-driven stories over commercially flashy projects. Her accompanying 2024 interview offered one of the clearest windows into her personality. Asked to describe herself in 3 words, she answered, introvert, extrovert, curious. When asked who inspired her professionally, she didn't name actors or directors, but writers, expressing admiration for people who create worlds from a blank page. Ultimately, Nancy McKeon's story contains an unusual irony. After entering show business as a 2-year-old Sears catalog model and spending nearly 5 decades in entertainment, the biggest surprise isn't a hidden scandal. It's the absence of one. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.